Pit racing, boo.
Were you going fast because that's what you wanted to do, or was it like, I want to do this pro, I'm going to ride as hard as I can, like, you know, or did you just have that itch to win and that's all there was to it?
So, like, they could never keep me off the bike. Like, I would ride 7 days a week. It was, to this day, like, it's just in my blood. Since I've started riding again, like, it's amazing. You know, I enjoy taking my family to the track and us all interacting, and Ellie loves being at the track. So it's awesome for me to kind of be doing that with the family, kind of knowing, you know, what all my family has done in order to go to Loretta's or get me to, you know, Supercross, race under the lights, you know, stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into that, you know, but to get back to your point, you know, when I was, you know, in 6th grade and we got homeschooled, at that point, you know, even though I was still really young, it kind of was a job, you know, at some point. Like, at that point, you know, when Cole said, like, when did you start riding for Team Green? Well, that's when I started getting paid. You know, you got paid for championships. You got, you know, money to get to the races. They supplied the motorcycles. You know, I was very lucky to, you know, be in that era to have that ride and continue to progress. And, I mean, my whole amateur career, I mean, I had a ride almost every year, you know, until I turned pro and rode for, you know, Rock River. You know, I was very blessed with what I had, you know, with whatever I needed, I could get, for sure.
How did that come about when you were, you know, on 60s? Like, how did you end up on a Team Green ride? Did they approach you? Did you kind of have a conversation with them, you know?
So we actually went to Loretta's, and I was on a Cowie, and I believe I got, I don't know, probably 6th or 7th that year. And my dad was always in everyone's ear. He would talk to everybody. He was always that guy that would just talk and talk and talk and talk. And eventually it ended up getting us a ride. We got home for Loretta's one year, and we signed a contract. And ever since then, it, you know, it continued on to different manufacturers with the results that I was representing.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was like you just said, Cowie's. You got that first ride, and then you stayed with them. You stayed with them through your younger 80 years, but then I remember you went Honda. And I've heard stories about, like, Honda's little factory or whatever, and I don't know if it's, I mean, Blake knows your history pretty good, but I know they'd walk into
the
that
mayor?
Blake who? Yeah,
the mayor. Where's that button?
Shit, boy.
I know they'd walk into some shed, something, and there'd be some engines on the table, and they were Terren's engines. That shit's badass.
So you say that about Honda, like it wasn't any different, you know, with Suzuki or, you know, Yamaha. I rode for factory Yamaha. I rode for factory Suzuki. I rode for all those factories. I mean, we get into that. It gets deep.
Well, let's get into it. That's what we're here for.
We got at least 2 more hours.
But
we
hey,
can
honestly,
be here as long as we need to be.
Before we get into that, it was only Cowie, though, up until Honda, right?
Correct, yeah.
So, I mean, you, like, the only 80 you ever
60s and
rode.
80s.
Yeah, you rode the 80 small wheel probably, and you got the
old
Honda.
Sea-Doo 85, the Cowie, the seat on that thing was so wide. It was like a lazy boy.
Oh, it was a couch.
Hey,
That's why I rode them.
let me chime in real quick. So Dixon had this screenshot on his phone before he started, but it's up there recording. So I just pulled up the vault, which on the way here I told Austin to do it. He goes, damn. Like, it's a full screen worth of results.
Been there a few times.
So you were just talking about you rode a Cowie at Loretta's your first year.
What's the Volt? The
Loretta's
Vault
Vault.
is, like, I typed in your last name, and it'll show every year you've been at Loretta's and how you finished, what class. So 2002 would be what you're referring to.
On a 65?
65, 10 to 11 stock, and 65, 7 to 11 mod. You got 5th overall in 65 stock and 14th in mod. So
I was one place off, yeah.
So that 5th landed you, basically is what you're saying, that 5th landed you a deal with Kawasaki. And then
100%. And I mean, my dad being in everybody's ear. I mean,
so
he was
then
constantly talking.
you return in 03, and basically same 2 classes, and you get a 7th and a 2nd overall.
Yeah.
So
Who won? Oh, it doesn't tell you. It
I'm
says
just looking at
positions, right?
his results.
Probably Blake Wharton, if I had to guess.
That was your guy growing up.
Definitely.
I mean, you had his number sometimes, but
if it wasn't for Blake Wharton, he wouldn't have went as far as he did. And he's even, I mean, his dad's even said that. I mean, our amateur days, man, it was so gnarly. Like,
Oh yeah.
it
I remember all
didn't
of it.
matter where we were at. I mean, we were, you know, he was definitely faster than me, but, you know, 3 out of 5 times, you know, I'd take his number, but the other times, I mean, I just wouldn't be anywhere near him. I mean, his pace was definitely faster than mine, but me going to the Texas Winter Series and racing with him and doing that was just honestly phenomenal. And it's crazy we bring up him because, you know, we were always just so at each other's neck completely. Parents, us. I mean, he would protest me. I would protest him just to tear the bikes down, you know. I mean, the parents were always at each other's throat. It was, you know, I mean, that's what we lived for, though. I mean, I was the aggressive guy. I mean, if I was a slower guy, I mean, I'd rub him a little bit, you know.
I just found it, so sorry to cut in a little bit. So when you got second overall, it was Jake Canada that got the overall.
Oh,
shit.
damn.
Wow.
Canada.
So you went 5-2-3, and Canada was a 6-1-2.
God damn.
Tevin Tapia was third with
Tapia.
with a 1-4-6.
All T-tap.
And then Sean Rife, Regal, Kyle
And
Regal.
he ended up running novice.
Kyle Regal was sixth.
How does that work?
Who?
Tafia.
Tapia?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Eli Tomac took a 16th.
Pretty fucking sure.
Hey, Eli Tomac took a 16th in that class.
Really?
He must have been young. Because the next couple of years he
He
lapped me.
dominated, yeah.
Blake Baggett was a 17th. So, wait, Jason Anderson with the 23rd.
Wow.
So all these guys.
It must have been young or
yeah,
something.
young kids. Because they, like,
But I don't know why they
Yeah, it
run
was
that
7
class.
I
to,
think
7 to
Eli's-
11. That's a. Oh, but this is you're
Yeah,
still.
but you say those names. We raced with those guys all throughout our amateur career.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
me and Cole were with those guys. I mean, the entire time. If you look
Right.
up, I remember I was on
Jeremy
a Honda
Martin.
80. Yeah,
I mean,
Honda 80 when I was riding for American Honda. I entered 4 classes at the Oak Hill National. You had Barcia, all those guys there. Shannon was training me that year, and I won 3 out of the 4 titles that year. Like when
Yeah.
you pull into Oak Hill, it says the names on the board. It's pretty cool. They're all on wood boards, and they have all the championships. And that year, I've got 3 of my names in a
Yeah,
row.
I try to tell people all the
Badass.
time. Because they don't, like in my head, I know who Terren O'Dell is. But in their head, they're like, who's this guy? And I'm like, you don't know who Terren is?
yeah.
Because in my head, growing up, I'm like, he is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like as for me, growing up as an amateur, watching Terren, I mean, he's the next level dude.
I didn't get to watch.
Like the fact that I can race him now and like be in his footsteps, literally, I'm
he
like,
can see you a
fuck
little
yeah.
bit.
You're close.
He's
I mean,
breathing.
close.
I
He's
know-
breathing your dust. a little bit.
He's in that dirty area.
He's the guy that should be on TV right now. It just didn't work out in later career. But I mean, I know he's happy now and loves it. But growing up, he was the cream of the crop.
Yeah, and I didn't get to watch Terren quite as much as you did growing up, but I saw him enough. And
You just need to see him
the
once.
first time I ever saw him was at Cooperland on a Honda 80. And I saw it, you know, we always parked on that back fence on the back of the canyon.
That was
And
2006.
Yeah.
Based
And,
on the vault, that's the only year he rode Honda was 06.
well, it was the fucking year I seen
only
him
year
out
I
there.
won.
Because he come through this back section at fucking Cooperland, dude, on that Honda 80. And I was a fucking squid at the time. I mean, like, like, you look up Spode in the fucking dictionary, and my picture was next to it at this point in time. And I see fucking Terren go by on this 80, dude, and I'm like, yeah, I'm in the wrong line of work here, boys. Like, like Supernaugh's not bullshitting.
I'm not cut
dude.
out for this.
He was not bullshitting.
No,
Like,
I used
that
to
was
go.
the dude.
I used to go fast back then, but then you'd watch Terren come through.
Yeah.
Then you'd see what fast actually looks like.
Right. Yep. Yep.
So let me ask you this, Terren. Back to, I'm just kind of going along through your Loretta's results since we're going up through your career. So you got that Team Green ride. The next year you get a 7th and a 2nd in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're on Cowie's when you go to 80s. And you go Loretta's again. And you have a 20th overall and a 23rd overall. Which
What year was that?
I know this is
That was a rough year.
this is 04, 12 to 13 class. So I imagine you were young.
Didn't
It
have
was
it
your
that
first year, but do you remember that at all? I mean, I haven't looked to see what your moto finishes were. Actually, we'll pull up right here.
It's crazy to think, but I remember more about 60s than some of those 80 days on the Cowies.
Remember the good times.
It wait a second. O'Dell. Oh, you had a DNF first moto, and then a 16 and a 12.
You know, you say that. I broke my ankle one year at Ponca when they used to do the Ponca National and then straight to Loretta's.
Back to back.
And the next week you're racing.
So, and I'm not just saying that because of the shitty results, but I did ride Loretta's one year with a broke ankle because we went to Ponca.
This has got to be it, because then you go 14, 34, 24.
We went to Ponca and I broke my ankle on the finish line. It was a mud race, and I went for the finish line.
You
and,
sent that fucking.
Oh, I came up way short, blew over the bars, broke ankle. And I think it was the last moto there. Well, we drive to Loretta's, and my dad's like, "You're racing. I mean, you're a factory rider. You have to race. You have to produce. If you don't produce and you don't get help, we can't go racing." I mean, it was that serious for us. Like I had to win. I mean, I had to be there. So back to me crashing, we went to if that's the year, I'm pretty sure it is.
Has to be.
We parked right next to Ryan Villapoto. When you pull in the gates at Loretta's, I'll never forget it because he was hurt that year too. And they had seen that, you know, I was kind of limping around. My dad obviously talking their ear off, whatever. Well,
making his rounds.
They had.
Was he related to the Barnes?
I shit you not. They had this bottle of cream that you would put on a horse's ankle to cure something. Well, they would put that on my ankle, and I couldn't feel my ankle. It worked. Whatever it was. It was completely numb, and we called it horse cream.
That's probably on the NADA or WADA list or whatever that is.
Banned substances.
Probably found upon now. Yeah. As all these guys have their own doctors at races, and it's crazy. But yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty positive based on these results it was that year, because so you had a 7th and a 2nd overall the year before, and then those two 20th and 23rd. Mm-hmm. Then the following year,
and this is on 80s.
Yes, that was his first
Kawasaki 85s.
First year on 80s, 12 to 13.
Your first year was on Cowies?
The following year, 12 to 13, again, he's on Yamaha, so you landed a Yamaha deal in that offseason, and he had a 5th and a 2nd overall.
I don't remember you on Yamahas at all.
Yeah, I rode for, I would get my bikes from factory Yamaha, and then actually TH Racing at the time, they were building the bikes.
TH?
That's who I remember Barnes
TH Racing.
Did you ever hear about
Todd
the son?
Todd Heemsbergen?
I know them really good.
Really?
But his son, you know the son that raced?
Yes. Yeah.
He got his arm almost decapitated.
Wow, I
It was
didn't know that.
I talked to his dad. I can't remember where it was.
Hey,
I'm not kidding.
I don't know why
you
we're
hear that?
laughing.
Yeah,
I'm not-
had his arm almost decapitated.
super, you know,
I'm not-
decapitated means
All right,
you lose your head.
I know it's your head. But his arm. I talked to his dad. I can't
Those
remember.
Millers, bud.
Hey,
Hey, my finger got decapitated.
you can laugh all you want, but I was like pretty good buddies with them. Like that family's rich as fuck. But one year later on in life, I talked to his dad, and he said his son got in a crash. His arm was literally hanging on by like a vein.
Dirt bike or car crash? or
Dirt
what?
bike, because he kept racing.
Oh,
Somehow they sewn it back together.
God.
I don't know if he's still riding, but I remember his bikes, and I remember the kid, and I remember the dad. His dad was funny as shit.
Yeah, he used to build some badass stuff. That's for sure. My bikes were always hot.
You know the Tiemans?
Yeah.
He bought one of his old bikes, and I rode it.
So did Barnes?
Never rode anything like it again in my life.
I know Barnes when I first met, or right after I first met him, he was on Yamaha 85s, and he always ran TH racing stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where I knew that name from. But yeah, that year,
were
so
hot back
looking
then.
here at the results, you're 5th overall. Barcia won it. Tomac got 2nd. Ty Simmons, I don't know that name.
He was
Apparently
fast
pretty
back in the day.
Yeah. Simmons, Sean Rife, you, then Wharton, Dean Wilson,
Sean Rife. He
Regal.
broke his ankle in a
Wharton was
parade
behind
lap
me?
one time.
Wharton was behind you. 8,
Hey.
11, 8 or something like that.
Nice.
Did you guys race Trent Pugmire?
And then-
Uh-huh. He was from California too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't
he-
recall the name.
He would he was always
Number 96, wasn't
yeah.
it?
He
Hey.
was. There's a lot of videos of him at Mammoth.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense if he's from California.
This same year when you're on Yamahas, you went 3-2-1 in the stock class.
And didn't win?
No, Barcia won with a 2-1-2.
Yeah.
But you did beat Wharton. Wharton had a 1-12-5.
Yes, sir.
You beat Canada, Tomac,
Let's go.
Regal, Baggett.
There's so many fucking names, dude. That,
Well, that's-
like,
It's crazy.
Same
Malcolm
age as
Stewart,
you guys.
you're
Yeah.
racing Stewart. Malcolm smoking him back then.
Like, I think you could make an
Probably
argument.
still smoking today, I bet.
If you enjoyed this content, make sure you check out the full episode by searching Pit Racing on your favorite podcast listening app. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, make sure and leave us a review. That helps us out a lot. Bye, everybody. Pit Racing, boo!